In this video, I'm going to explain to you some tips and tricks and things you want to think about when you're trying to attack your opponent's king when both kings are on the same side of the board. You can see black has castled kingside, white has also castled kingside, and a lot of people are nervous to just start throwing their pawns forward in front of their king, so they don't really know how to attack, and generally you get different types of games where people trade pieces, goes into an endgame, but they don't actually attack. We're going to talk about how to do that. This actually comes from a King's Indian defense opening, which we will also talk about. But there's a very typical plan here that you can use to attack your opponent's king. And I'm going to explain exactly what it is and how to do it. This came from a game that I played recently online on my anonymous training account, but I think it illustrates a lot of key principles and ideas. And so let's go ahead and just take a look. So d4, knight f6, c4, g6. This is the main line of the King's Indian defense, where you fee and shadow your bishop. And when they play e4, you almost always want to play d6 in the King's Indian because you want to have an option to capture this pawn if they push it forward. They played knight f3, I castled. Bishop e2, and I played the move e5. This is the main line of the King's Indian, so this is very common, and at the high levels, pretty much everybody knows this. It looks like a free pawn, but it's actually not. If white decides to grab this free pawn, let's just say they trade the queens and take, we always have this counter sacrifice, knight takes e4, which opens up our bishop, and we end up winning our pawn back, right? And it looks like they can get fancy with their knight here, but actually we can just trade here with the check, and then we just come out up a piece. So all that to say, we're not losing a pawn. This is the main line. Most people know this and they don't take this. And my opponent actually played what's called the Petrosian variation, where they push by and lock up the center right away. Now, there's an important thing that you need to understand. When the center is closed, and what I mean by that is when the pawns are blockaded in such a way that it's not that easy to make any trades in the center, right? Like I can't really move through my own pawns, white can't really move through their own pawns, and these pawns are not able to trade with each other because the center is locked. This is called a closed center, okay? When this happens, attacks on the flank, could be either flank, tend to be more effective because you don't have to worry about anything happening in the center of the board that's going to draw your attention away from the attack on the flank. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're playing a game when you see a closed center. Attacks on the flank can be more effective, all right? So I played a5. This is a pretty typical idea in the King's Indian. You're going to put your knight on c5, and you don't want a pawn to chase it away, so that's why you play a5. My opponent castles. I play knight a6, and I put the knight on c5 like I just mentioned, okay? They played queen c2. I was attacking the pawn on e4, and they defended it with the queen. Okay. I played bishop to d7, developing the bishop. They played bishop to e3, and I played b6. I'm just overprotecting my knight. They played the move b3. Now, I want you guys to pause the video and think for just a second, how would you try to initiate an attack on white's king if you wanted to? What would your idea be? All right, if you had a chance to pause and think about that. So the King's Indian is very well known for kingside attacks, and the way that they usually start almost always is by moving this knight somewhere and playing the move f5, okay? So you can do knight e8, you can do knight h5, depending on the situation. In this case, I decided to go with knight h5 because I thought maybe jumping into this f4 square looks pretty good. But the point is we want to clear the path so we can play the move f5. And f5 does a lot of really nice things for us. Number one, we put pressure on the center. Number two, we potentially open up the rook, which is a very powerful piece that we can use to attack. And the nice thing about just pushing the f-pawn is we don't actually weaken our king too much. Our king is still pretty safe behind these pieces. We can tuck it over here in the corner if we ever needed to get away from this diagonal. But when the center is closed like this, we don't even really have to worry about that. And so this is a very good idea to keep in mind if you're playing not just King's Indian openings, but any type of opening where you're trying to think about how do you attack when kings are on the same side of the board. Think about pushing the f-pawn forward, okay? All right, so my opponent played a3. This is pretty typical from white. They're going to expand on the queen side, and they're just setting up to do that with b4. So I played f5, continuing with the plan. They played b4. And if you would like to pause, what do you think I did here? All right, so if you had a chance to look at that, you could trade, but then it opens up this file, which I don't really think benefits us. We don't really want to initiate action on this side of the board if we're trying to target the king over here. We want to keep things as closed off as possible on the other side of the board so that white can't do as much. So rather than taking there, I just ignored it and captured on e4, okay? They took back, I captured, and then they played queen takes e4, which is actually a mistake. All right, if you would like to pause, what should you play in this position? All right, so I actually missed the best move, and well, I didn't miss it, but I missed one of the ideas behind why I should have played it. So the best move is bishop to f5. So if you said bishop f5, congratulations. And I did think about this move, but I ultimately decided against it, and I'll explain exactly what I was thinking. So I played knight f4. First of all, I felt like this is a really strong move because it cuts off the queen from being able to come over here. It attacks the bishop, brings the knight off the edge of the board into the center. And if they take me, my rook's going to come up. I felt like this was a very powerful knight, okay? Which it was. Nothing was really wrong with that. However, bishop f5 was actually a much better move. Now, I noticed that the queen was almost trapped. Okay, you see that? It only has one place to go to, h4. And of course, it's potentially threatening a queen trade. I also noticed that I could play bishop f6, attacking the queen and basically trapping it. The reason I didn't play this is because I saw that they would play bishop g5, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do about this. I mean, yeah, I can just trade, but then I thought maybe they'll just trade, and I can trade queens, and why am I trading off all the pieces when I'm trying to attack? The reason this is so good for me is because instead of trading right away, Stockfish says you can play knight f4, which attacks the bishop. White doesn't have time to trade because you'll throw in this move with check, forcing their king to move, then you'll recapture and you're just up a piece. So they have to deal with the threat on their bishop. Let's say they just try to save the bishop by moving it back. Now I can trade and take here, and there is a pin on the rook because they blocked their other rook. And you say, what if they didn't move the bishop? What if they just try to defend, right? Again, we can take, and again, we can trade. And this time when we take here, it lures the rook away, and we take. So they have all of these problems defending everything after all those trades happen. So that's what I missed. I didn't analyze it far enough to see all of that stuff. So I did miss the best move, which was bishop f5. That being said, from a strictly, we want to just keep generating the attack on the king, knight f4, the move that I played, is actually a very good move because it sets up some targets on these squares with our knight. And like I said, white could take this, and maybe they should have, but now they have to worry about my rook coming up and causing some problems. Or maybe even just taking with the pawn could also be another option as well. So they, in the game, decided to play queen c2. They wanted to defend their bishop because I was attacking it with my knight. And if you would like to pause, this is kind of a critical moment. So go ahead, take a few minutes, think about what the best move is in this position and why. Okay, so if you had a chance to look at that, let me explain to you what I was thinking about so you can understand how I arrived at this move. So the move is e4, by the way, and I'm going to explain exactly how we got there. So the first thing that I noticed is that if I sacrifice my bishop, which by the way, when you're trying to attack, sacrificing a piece to open up the king is something you always want to check. I noticed that if I sacrificed here, brought my queen here, threatening their king, if they moved in the corner, I would have a checkmate. Now, obviously, you guys are saying, Nelson, your queen is, they're going to take your queen. It doesn't work, right? You're absolutely right. I can't do that. They'll take my queen. But if the knight wasn't here, that would work. Okay, do you guys understand why I played the move e4 now? Because I wanted to chase the knight away to make it move so that this tactic all of a sudden actually works. Now, there's a couple of details that we have to figure out because first of all, it looks like they could just take our pawn, right? Does that actually do anything? So here's a good tip. When you're looking at a position and there's a move that you want to play, and you say, I can't go there because they'll just take me. You need to ask the question, well, what happens if I play there anyway? What happens if I go there anyway, right? Well, it turns out that the queen can't take me. Because remember, the queen was guarding the bishop, and now I can actually take here with check. They move, not to mention there's also a rook in the corner that I could take. I don't even have to. I have a great position anyway. Just bishop f5 is good, but if I want, I can also take the rook. So they can't take me. Okay, that's pretty nice. So now we are threatening the knight. Now, there's several things that they could have tried. Maybe they try to trade first, but then that was going to allow me to take here, and they have a problem. Both of their bishops are under attacks. That didn't look very good for them. And so I kind of expected that they would play the move knight to d4, which is what they did. And this allowed me to kind of finish the next phase of my attack with the follow-up move. So if you want to pause and think through that, go ahead. And I'm going to actually take this opportunity to explain to you guys something else really quickly. Chess Vibes Academy, my monthly membership, is reopening. We only open it a couple times a year. It's reopening on Monday. And there is a boot camp, which is basically like a course where there's some homework and I'm more involved than just a regular course. But we're doing a boot camp on attack first is what it's called. Basically how to attack. And I go through 18 key attacking principles. I give you lots of example games just like this one. So if you're learning something from this one and you want to see different types of positions and different types of games, highly recommend you check out that boot camp. It's inside of Chess5's Academy. It's very reasonably priced. And so check out the link in the description. That opens on Monday. It's only going to be open for 5 days. So definitely take advantage of that if you want. Okay. Having said that, hopefully you had a chance to pause and think through this. The move that I played was bishop takes h3. Now, I said it earlier, but sacrificing a piece to open up the king a lot of times is a smart decision, especially if you have a very clear follow-up. And in this case, I did have a follow-up. Now, I have one question for you guys. What's going to happen if they take, I play queen g5 check, and they block with the bishop? Do you guys see what I can do? All right, well, that's actually what happened in the game. They took, I played check, they played bishop here, and I have a very nice little tactic. Knight takes h3 check. So we are removing the pawn that's defending the bishop. It comes with the check, so I'm not worried about losing my queen. And they can't take me because they're pinned. So actually, I'm just winning their bishop. They moved, and I captured the bishop. And now I got my piece back, essentially, and some pawns. So I'm up material. And even better than that, I'm about to checkmate the king because it's not in a good position, right? And my queen and my rook are very dangerous. They played queen to d1, trying to trade and get out of this mess for their king. And what do you think I played in this position? I actually played a move that made my opponent resign. So just pause and think about that. Okay, so first of all, there's lots of good moves. Queen h4 would be a fantastic move because you're lining up on the king, and you're threatening to move your knight with check, and they're probably going to have to move their king out of the way, and you can keep attacking. That's great. But the move that I played was rook f3. And the reason they resigned is because, well, what are you going to play if you're white? If you take this, the game is over basically immediately because I have checkmate here. The only way to stop that is moving your rook. And now I sacrifice my knight, which is a brilliant move. And we get this really cool checkmate in the corner. Okay? So because of that, you can't really take the rook. But if you can't take the rook, what are you going to play? Because if you play a random move, I'm threatening to simply, well, I think I was going to take here, but actually I don't know if that works now that I'm looking at it. Maybe let's just say here, and my rook is coming over. And you can't really stop this. I mean, you can delay it a little bit, but this is going to lead to a forced checkmate, and white can't really do anything about it, okay? So, yeah, I mean, you could try to find a different move like here, but then again, this same idea exists, right, with this checkmate. So what white just really has no moves to play, right? So they resigned, and that is the game. So just to recap, the key idea is if you're playing in this King's Indian type of structure, moving this knight out of the way so that you can play the move f5, and then looking for opportunities to bring the pieces close to the opponent's king, and at the right moment, some sort of sacrifice to open up their king is usually what you need. That's what bishop takes h3 was. And then you do have to be careful and find these little tactics at the end. But if you can do that, you can win some really nice games. So I hope this was helpful to you guys. Don't forget, link will be in the description for Chess5's Academy. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, play smart, take care.